basically my cheeks just get less fat, which I guess is normal. But,
there's a jaw exerciser. It's like this little squeezy fit toy that you like put in your mouth and you chew on, and it's like literally meant to like make your jaws more like toned and like powerful.
Huh?
I do not need that.
Yeah, you could use one of those indestructible Kong toys they sell at PetSmart.
Oh yeah. If I was ever getting tortured and they told me to bite down on a piece of bamboo, that thing is exploding. Shrapnel. So
I have to tell you, in my life, I've never thought about being tortured and biting down on bamboo, but I will now.
That's all there is in Vietnam. That's how it was.
Or what is it they make you bite down on? Like a rag or
piece of
leather, right?
I'm making that up.
Leather, something like that, or like just like a wooden bit or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I never.
Don't they fold a belt in half a lot?
Yeah, that would do the trick. That would do the trick.
By the way, when we keep saying they, who are we referring to?
These are the bad guys in Rambo 2, maybe.
Yeah,
terrorists.
Exactly.
They didn't give him anything to bite down on in Rambo 2.
Chuck Norris.
Flashback.
Now, when we're saying Rambo 2, of course you're just saying Rambo. Because First Blood is technically Rambo 1. Mm-hmm. Or you think Rambo is Rambo and then Rambo 2.
Well, Rambo 2 is Rambo First Blood Part 2. It was the title.
Right. Is that the one, when you say Rambo 2, is that the one you're thinking of? Or are you thinking of the second Rambo with the Rambo title?
Well,
the second in the series is the one where he went to Vietnam and freed the POWs who were still there, I suspect.
Yeah, they'd been there. They was like 84 and they were still there, which was the premise of a lot of those movies back then. Hollywood was like, we can still win Nam, boys. Don't worry. It's like, it's the 80s. And they were going back. And Chuck Norris did a couple of those movies too.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of you think that right now, at your age, right now, in the shape you're in, you could beat up Chuck Norris?
Oh, no.
Ooh, wait, what is his age?
He's got the power of Christ on his side also. That's different.
Like current Chuck Norris, right?
Chuck Norris.
I think Chuck Norris is a small guy. Like I was watching a Chuck Norris movie today. And even in that movie at his peak, like he was fit, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
like,
he's 80. Yeah, I got that bitch.
But yeah, I think we can all beat up Chuck Norris, honestly.
He's 80 and he's 5'8".
That's where I was heading. I think he's short.
So what's your right now? So say I know you just said you could take that bitch. So right now, what's your strategy? Are you bum rushing him? Are you squaring off with him and dancing around?
I'm gonna double leg.
If he even gets a good hit on me, I will give him permission to execute me.
I think you double leg Chuck Norris immediately and just like follow him to the ground, and that impact alone is gonna fuck him
or just
up.
delay the fight 15 minutes. He might die. He's 80 years old.
Even at his age, if you gave him space, I'm sure he could still kick you right in the fucking face.
I don't know about that. 80 is there's a lot of bone density you lose at 80.
What's the last big public physical thing he did? Something from like 1978.
I mean, he did some Super Bowl commercials like 8 years ago, maybe. But like the last time he was in anything action related was like back in the Lone Wolf McQuaid days.
Texas Ranger, right? Didn't he do the Texas
Ranger? Now Texas Ranger Chuck Norris probably kicks my ass.
Would not probably, dude. Definitely.
What's his martial arts background anyway? Because like I'm always skeptical about like Hollywood tough guys.
No, he was an actual fighter. So that was one of the things when people used to, and I could be wrong, but I don't think so. When people used to ask who would win in a fight between you and Bruce Lee, I think one of his responses was always like, Bruce Lee was amazing and skilled, but I actually fought. And he did it. I think that's one of the things he would say, I've actually been in fights, sanctioned fights, and he hadn't. But I don't think Chuck Norris is a fake tough guy. But I think you could Google if he fought professionally. But I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, I will say, based on his Wikipedia page, this picture of him 5 years ago where he was 75, that is a fantastic looking 75-year-old.
Yeah? Let me see.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Let me just on his wiki. And, they always use like really very flattering portrait photos for.
Yeah, this is also a very low quality picture.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, guys. First of all, he looks absurd. He's wearing that light blue blazer with that turtleneck.
Yeah, but the turtleneck
that wig.
This isn't a clear eye for the straight guy. Just look at how he looks for a 75-year-old.
He looks like a pussy is what he looks like.
Oh my! I think the gauntlet has been thrown.
I publicly challenge Chuck Norris to a fight to the death at his leisure at my house anytime.
I would love to see him show up in that turtleneck because that turtleneck.
Kyle. Yeah.
So Chuck Norris.
If you get this Chuck Norris wearing that turtleneck, I think you just have to not come out of your house for a while.
Yeah, you have to go into some kind of recluse existence.
Yeah, I have no fear of Chuck Norris at this point. Again, not saying he was a fake tough guy. I'm just saying he's an 80-year-old man.
I agree with you, and I'm saying I would much rather fight Chuck Norris than any of the three of you. Like, all three of you would be way harder to beat up than Chuck Norris because you're all young people. Your bones aren't shit. Woody, I'm lumping you in. Take your W's. Yeah.
Younger, all right? Woody's not 80 fucking years old. Like, we joke, but he's just like 8 years older than me or something.
When Woody was born, Chuck was Woody's current age. So.
Let me throw this out at you, because we all know that Seagal isn't as old as Chuck Norris, but he has put on a couple of LB.
Here's the thing about Seagal, though. Okay. 6'4" and got to be close to 300 pounds these days.
Right.
Also a legitimate martial artist. The guy, like he taught he taught for a long time.
Can I jump in with the legitimate martial artist? Let me just remind you that he used to call himself I'm a black belt, I could kill you. And real martial artists would say, cool, let's fight. And he would say, no, because I fight to the death. And they'd be like, cool. And he'd back out. So
that's such a cool excuse.
Josh is right. No, Chuck Norris is way more legit than Steven Seagal ever was.
I agree.
Yeah. No, Chuck Norris is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a black belt in karate. He was a competitive karate fighter for many years. He's won American tournaments and stuff like that. I don't know if competitive karate is quite UFC, right? I don't know what those rules are exactly. It might be like in
karate back then.
Yeah. In Taekwondo, I could be wrong on this. I'm not an expert, but I think a lot of their scores are just counted on touches. Like if I get my foot on your chest, I get a point. But that's not really based on damage.
That's not what the karate tournaments were, I think, fights.
Okay.
And I think Seagal, and I would say the one thing about somebody like Seagal who's 6'4", 300, to me, all you got to do is last more than a minute. If you can last more than a minute, I think he's just going to be, from that point on, 30 seconds of heavy breathing.
Yeah. I mean, he gets those big meaty paws on you in the first 25 seconds. You're going to have that 35 seconds you're waiting for him to burn out. It's going to be the hardest 35 seconds of your life because he's going to be bringing those holiday hams down right on you.
He's still making action films?
That's outrageous.
He made a movie last year where he's like an Army Special Forces Ranger, super duper Navy SEAL, whatever the fuck. And he's in like a desert country with a bunch of other guys who are 20 years old who should be there. And there's a part where his buddy gets shot and Seagal has to drag him to safety. And it's so clear that Seagal doesn't have the strength to drag his buddy to safety. And that he's just holding the guy's collar with about this much strength. And then a wire just reels. Somebody's back there
this before.
Mr. Seagal needs more attention.
Taylor.
The reason he could do that is because he owns his own production company. And so he's the grand poobah on set. And if he wants you pulled by a wire because he's too lazy or unable, has a total inability to do it, he can. So
Who's more believable as an action star? Oh, Josh, you want to go?
When you see him fight now, it's all close up. You don't ever get to see him act. Yeah, that's the stuff. It's all that, and then you see the action, but they don't do.
And then this number. Yeah! I love that move. That move he does it every movie at least once, where he traps their wrist and he takes a knee in front of them and just goes, Gah! And just snaps it over his shoulder, and they're just ah! I love that move. Do you know how hard it is to snap a wrist?
Yeah,
he makes it look easy.
I will say, as far as their movies go, early Seagal, I like Seagal's movies more than Van Damme, and I like Seagal's movies more than Chuck Norris. Seagal, those early Seagal movies,
Under Siege,
but also because he was doing a form of martial arts that I hadn't seen in movies before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was so much of him using other people's body weight.
Is it akimbo?
Tai Chi
Is that what he
shit.
does? Is
It's
it
called
Yeah.
Aikido. Yeah.
Aikido? That's what it is.
So it was super cool to watch, and he was so much more fluid than some of those other guys. So I think his early movies were great, but like his later ones are just like are tough.
His hair's jet black too.
Yeah.
He's got this wig on. It's jet black, and he'll always wear like. Oh man, there was this love scene in his last one. I think ChampChong did a funny bit on it where they like do a joke commentary over it, and he's like hooking up with like literally like a gorgeous 25-year-old like petite woman, and he's in bed wearing a leather jacket to hide how fat he is.
He just looks terrible.
He looks terrible, and thank God they just fade to black. And then the next morning, you know, just happens.
The sex has to be implied. He's so fat.
Yes.
They can't even, do you think that they initially had the sex like scene written in there, and then they saw him turn, and then just that weight of his gut?
No. If he owns his own production company, they filmed the sex and then cut it from the final production.
He's like, yeah, I look terrible. Cut that.
They were like, Sensei Seagal, this is not going to work, sir.
Sensei Seagal,
cut it out. Cut it
see,
out, but send me a copy.
You're wearing underwear, but we actually can't see it. It doesn't look
Taylor, who's more believable as an action star? Modern day Steven Seagal or some hot 22-year-old model they got from the agency who can barely jump on a chair?
Seagal.
Who's the hot 22-year-old?
I don't know. I feel like this is a movie trope. I always see this. Some brand new action star female that's supposed to beat up 13 guys in this film. But
let's pick
clearly
like,
not
let's
an
pick Angelina
athlete.
Jolie from Salt. Like one of those movies where they take someone who is not even known for their physical prowess, and they're not a superhero movie. They're not. There's no like. They just make them a badass. Like Angelina Jolie in Salt. She was just like uber badass, kicking the shit out of 3 guys at once. Yeah, don't.
That's shitty. I will say these photos of Steven Seagal's hair are absurd.
They're hilarious.
It is jet black. It's black as night.
It's also so insulting to people who are looking at it because it's jet black, it's painted on, and then he pretends like they'll never
beard. Look at the beard.
The whole thing is it's just be like, hey, funny, right? Yeah, okay, let's get that over with. Same thing with Travolta. You're like, so wait a second. One day, great hairline, jet black. The next day, something completely different. Like, let's just make up your mind what you want to look like.
Yeah, and you're a guy. Like, as a man, you shouldn't give a fuck when your hair starts going gray. Just let it happen. As long as the hair's there, that's a net victory.
Yeah.
But it's not there. Like Travolta is bald, Seagal is bald, Chuck Norris is bald.